of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded July 20th, 2022.
So it's 2 o'clock, July 20th. Call to order the Police and Fire Commission. And first thing on the agenda, Leanne, can you call the roll, please?
Moore?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
Rozek? Here. Ostrowski?
Here. Okay, Mr. Kirschling will be joining us shortly. He had a little bit of a delay today. Item agenda number 2 is discussion and possible action on the use and evaluation of exit interview materials. The reason I brought this forward on this agenda is we have had many exit interviews. We have never made a policy or a procedure on what to do with any of that information. And we have the chiefs and assistant chiefs here. We can kind of have a little discussion about the value of any of this information that we've gathered and if we want to continue to do these things or not. So, wide open.
Well, the one thing in my comment would be that I think there is value to them in the sense of two things. One is the people that did them with me all wanted them. It wasn't they were forced or coerced or anything, they all wanted them. They also thought, every one of them, when I was involved in, made the comment that we're glad you're having them. Maybe you're finally listening to us. So I think on those two bases, I think there's value in it. Obviously, the discussion of stuff is very personal, so it'd have to be done in probably some private session. But I do think, Mr. President, that there is, because of those 2 points that I make, there's value to it.
Okay. Other comments?
Yeah, I think there's good takeaway. So I have attended now 3 of them, and all 3 of them have been very open in discussion, giving both positives, and negatives. And I think that it can only help to, especially if shared with the chiefs too, or appropriate people, to have open dialogue and discussion. So I think there's a lot of value to it.
All right. Mr. Taylor, any comments?
I guess we go on to, there is, Commissioner actually said, this is personal information, so there's got to be a balance here. We can't sit there and say, trust us and everything, and they tell us what they think is going right and wrong in both departments, and all of a sudden we just turn around and give a right to management. I'd like to keep these people speaking very candidly and very honestly about stuff, but yet I do think there is value in distilling down some useful information out of this, and maybe coming up with an action plan on how to use it.
Okay. Yeah, and I think when we do, I guess all the ones that I have conducted, is that we establish that policy that if there's something that they wish to be technically off record, that they don't want, that those would not be, it would only be discussed amongst the commission itself for that, because we also, we give them the opportunity that.
Because these are HR ran interviews, right? I've only been in one.
Well, they're not truly run by HR. They attend, and they help set them up, because the convenience of having the knowledge they have of when the person does all their other exit information for ending their career with Stevens Point, HR knows about that because they're signing other papers and documents, so they've taken care of setting up the meeting times for us. Chiefs, I know you guys haven't received any information yet from any of these, and that's part of why we're bringing this forward, is because we don't have any policies or anything of what to do with this information. So I'm trying to find some direction on where we need to take this. So comments, thoughts?
By keeping it an option for them to do, if they're leaving in good status or bad status, not making it mandatory, I think is extremely important. It gives them an opportunity to relay to all of you, because you guys are optional powers, what they believe is going well, what they believe is not going well. And it might be based on perception, but again, if that's their perception, that's reality. But I also think with optional powers, you know, we are gonna be able to sit down, the chiefs are gonna be able to sit down with our liaisons or the president, and we need to set objectives and goals for the following year. That's not necessarily meaning that you have to relay all the information that you discovered in these interviews to us, but it can definitely give you some information that will help all of you when you meet with us to set our goals for the following year,
Okay.
to make proper ones, and maybe encourage us to set certain goals. And we don't need to know why or where that information came from, but I think it does. I think it's helpful information. I think it allows you guys to understand a little bit more of maybe what's going on, of why they're leaving, if it's in good standing or bad. I think it's a positive thing, but again, it's got to be something that's not mandatory. It's an option for them to do. And I think by having more of confidentiality, you're going to get more of their real thoughts as well.
Okay. Chief Moody.
Agreed. I think that these should be kept optional, and it is easier for HR to set them up, especially with the fire service. They're scheduling their last day audiograms, their exit interviews, everything that has to be done on that last day, and they know when that is. So having HR continue to set those up and making that optional, I think is the way we need to go about it. I do see there being some value and need to be able to hear their thoughts, their comments, their concerns. If, like Commissioner Morozic stated, if we want to keep it where during the exit interview, this is off the record and that stays with the commissioners, and whatever else is said during that interview, if that information can be relayed back through the liaisons or in a private setting with the chiefs, to be able to know, and it, not by name or who said what, but to know what's working well within the departments, or what needs to, or what issues need to be looked at, and how we go about fixing them. Maybe those individuals have great ideas on how to go about fixing those problems, and that's the time to sit and listen to what they have to say, and hopefully potentially implement some change within our departments. But not being able to hear what's going well or not working well within our departments doesn't help us having the exit interviews.
Right. Okay.
And I think the ones that I attended, there were very few things that were asked to be kept off the record. And technically, along with HR, it's pens down. You're just listening to them. But there have been very few things that, you know, the majority is it's both positive, you know, in some way, areas for improvement. They've just, I think that the conversations flowed really easily, and the takeaway was great.
Okay. I would like all of you to, commissioners, to assemble some policy ideas,
Okay.
thoughts about where you would like to take this and what we need to do with the information, and bring that to the next meeting so that we can maybe get the city attorney to look at it and see where we can go to make policy out of this. Okay? The other thing I'd like to say is that we don't have to wait for an exit interview before any of our employees come and talk to us. If there's a situation that you need addressed or feel very strongly about, please come to us. You know, if you want to do an individual, find our phone numbers. They're online. Come and talk to us. Ask one of the chiefs to give us a call. Whatever you need, reach out. We can't read your minds, so please come and talk to us before. I don't want to see this end up as being something that keeps getting worse and worse, and you decide you've got to leave your job, and we don't find out about it until your last day, and it's something that we could have taken care of if we'd have known. So please come and talk to us. Reach out.
And I agree too that it's as Chief Kuso had said, it's not that this has information, you know,
Right.
pull together as
Absolutely,
liaisons
yes.
too, when you're meeting with your chiefs, to be able to have just some really open dialogue about, without, it's necessarily naming people, but expectations or things, it's just, and I think that's really important too, is just a constant communication.
Absolutely.
And that helps us with either short-term or long-term goals
Yep.
individually as chief officers or as a department as well, what we can look at addressing. Or continue to improve, or continue to move forward with, that works well.
Because it's not fair, I don't think it's fair to our chiefs to just, at the end of the year, here's your goals, here's your assessments, and say, see you next year. No,
Right.
it has to be a very fluid,
Agreed.
working.
And we can keep moving on these things throughout the year. It's not just a set thing.
Yep.
All right, we're going to end that discussion. I think it was very good. Thank you. We're going to move on to agenda item number 3, which is an update on the 2023 U.S. Senior PGA Championship events from the police department. Chief, where are we at with that?
First of all, I'm going to have Lieutenant Ben Eitenbrook come up by the podium, please. He has kind of been taking the lead for this, taking the bull by the horns, as I might say. So I'm going to kind of go through what we've done so far. And Ben, please interrupt me, correct me, add things. And then if you have any questions, he'll probably most likely be able to answer them. As of right now, we've had 3 meetings, and we've had the meetings with the PGA reps, with Century reps, Century Security, and with the fire department. The original request that came into us requested about 5,000 law enforcement hours from sworn personnel, which is not doable at all.
You said 5,000?
About 5,000 hours in 10 days.
Okay.
So we actually, at one of the first meetings, Lieutenant Mueller and I sat down and we looked at what they needed sworn for. And there was a lot of positions where they didn't need sworn, like at road closures and stuff like that. They've got 30 security personnel at Century. We've got auxiliary, and so on and so forth. We're going to have to reach out to other agencies as well to help us. But we pared that down by quite a few hours. Lieutenant Ben Eitenbrook's still working with them to pare it down some more. Again, because we don't need officers walking through parking lots. That can be a security and stuff like that. For the road closures, we already do know that they're going to be closing it off at North Reserve at Eagle Summit, Division Street North at North Point, Michigan Avenue and Maria, and then North Point and Wilshire. The parking lots, as of right now, are going to be Lock Q, north of Lock Q in the field, the end of East Maria, Spash parking lot, and they're going to have buses that'll transport individuals to the site. Century is installing cameras throughout the entire course to help us minimize manpower needed, especially at night. These cameras are extremely incredible. They actually will pick up on humans, not on animals. They'll pick up on heat, motion, and so on and so forth. They'll be throughout the entire course. So that'll obviously pare down, instead of having officers walking throughout the night so that people don't get on. They could have a security officer and a sworn officer in their incident command, which is going to be located up at Century, to watch it. And then, again, Lieutenant Ben Eitenbrook has actually met with them as well. And I think I told you at the last PFC, he's actually done an incredible job already pre-planning further than what we've actually had to at this point, because we haven't come up with strategic plans or operational plans. We're still having more meetings with them. But he had already contacted the State Patrol and is working with them. They're invited to our next meeting in August. We don't know exactly the date of that.
And they also attended our last meeting.
Okay. And he's requesting that they work with state engineers to develop a traffic flow plan for this 10-day event, obviously utilizing I-39. He's contacted the Portage County Communications Center and talked about radio frequencies and asking if a dispatcher would possibly be available to be in incident command, and that's something that we'll have to figure out later on. He's reached out to the state's regional emergency management to see what resources they could provide. He found out that they could provide radio towers. They can provide extra radios that we can actually put onto our frequency, and so we can all have the same frequency and communicate all together on the same frequency with their help. He's already tested out the reliability of the radios at Century. He actually did a walkthrough, and again, this is stuff that he's done on his own and stepped up. went through and walked all through Century to see where our radios worked and where they don't work. And we decided that the channel VLaw 31 works the best, but we do need to get permission to get on the Century's repeater system. He is working with them currently.
Could I interrupt?
Absolutely.
So what we found out is our primary channel works really well, which is good to hear, because in the past we've had issues in there. We are looking at some secondary channels, that being Mark 1 and VLaw, and also in the state has suggested VLaw TAC 36. That said, those channels were not up to par, so we need to, as the Chief talked about, work with Century about possibly installing a temporary repeater so that we have a strong signal that can go through a lot of the concrete and the buildings that we need to be at. So that's our kind of primary goal, and I'm working with Century with that. But also we do have resources available from Wisconsin Emergency Management. They do have like a command center that can patch a lot of different channels in, and it comes with staff and also other towers and portable radios, things like that. So it's just a matter right now, I'm in the process of communicating with them. I'm going to be meeting with them here in the next month or so, hopefully, or in person, is just to see what their capabilities and confirm that, so that we don't have a bunch of people showing up and can't talk to each other, right? So that's important. Sorry.
The other thing he's done is he's already contacted Sheboygan, where the Ryder Cup is played every single year, to try to get their operation plans and their strategic plans, emergency operation plans for their event at Ryder Cup. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel, but he has taken the initiative to contact them directly, and they're going to be sending him what they do for the Ryder Cup, and so we can base ours off of that and then work with the fire department. This is something they do almost at every single call in a smaller fashion. It's kind of new to us, and so Ben has been working on that as well. And then at our next meeting that they have, they're going to invite Plover PD, because we're going to need their help, UWSP, and PTSO, and so that we can kind of get them up on where we're at. And again, at this point, we haven't even started doing the strategic planning, but we'll get them in here now so that they understand what we're implementing, what we're trying to implement for the U.S. Open.
So are there any budget impact implications so far, or do we understand the cost of any of this yet?
So the majority of the officers that are going to be working it'll be contractual opportunities for them.
Okay.
Through Century. Manpower issues obviously will be an issue because we have Riverfront Rendezvous going on during the same time. But again, one of the things that I need to do as chief is I need to, when we figure out how many sworn officers we need, what I need to do to reach out to other agencies outside our jurisdiction to offer it to, say, Marathon County or Wisconsin Rapids to get some of their sworn here to help us out. I have to see, again, I do not know what to do at this point. I don't know if I have to create an MOU. I don't know if the contractual pay covers insurance for them under the city's insurance plan or anything like that. So that is something that I have to still look into, because we are going to need the help of surrounding communities with Riverfront going on and a 10-day event.
Very good.
So outside agencies' assistance will be sought, but it'll be based on the PGA or Century paying for it, not the city.
The contractual, yes.
Am I right? I thought I heard stories of they're expecting 20 to 25,000 a day.
Yeah, so what they're expecting, the PGA stated that they're expecting 75,000 unique individuals. I'd asked them what unique individuals were, but that is individuals that are coming to Stevens Point that have never been here before. So besides what we bring here throughout Portage County, they're bringing in 75,000 is their estimation. The estimation is, I think, $22 million to the city in the 10-day event. Hotels, if you look at online, every hotel room's been booked up all the way almost down to Madison already for that week. I know that the city is working on, which they actually passed yesterday, relaxing the ordinance based on like VRBOs or Airbnbs. And so they're relaxing, and they're actually implementing a 10-day license, that permit that they can actually get for houses here in the city. So if people are interested in doing that as well. And so.
As far as the rest of the emergency services, obviously everything in the county that's available, I would assume. And how much coordination have you had with medical and fire so far?
So every meeting that we're at as well. working through the same situations. So working together with security and law enforcement. The big thing is the EMS side and what they're looking for us to provide for that week in EMS services and what we have to provide on the grounds during business hours, and then also having to deal with Riverfront Rendezvous being at that same time as well.
That's going to create a unique situation all in itself.
It is.
Ben, what do you have to add?
Just not that much, other than, basically in Sheboygan, talking with them, they've done like 7 different larger golfing events. The latest was the Ryder, so they have a lot of good information and different resources throughout the state. And right now, I'm just kind of reaching out to all of them and seeing what they have to offer and if we would want or need to utilize them. So, yeah, that's about all I have.
Very good. Any other questions from members? Joe, you want to come up and join us?
Officer, one question that comes to my mind, something like this, is you or the chief going to be the commanding officer of whatever forces you put together, or is it somebody from Century Security? I mean, who's going to be the top dog calling the shots?
Well, from a law enforcement side, obviously the chief is the top dog in our city.
And they're
right?
aware of that,
But-
right?
But he has delegated, my understanding, to me to coordinate on site
Yeah.
as he sees fit. And so I'm working with the head of security in Century, and we have an open dialogue. So when it comes to, law enforcement matters that we need to make a law enforcement decision that's clearly in our realm, we'll make that decision. Otherwise, we're going to work as partners and jointly with Century, who is hosting it on their private course.
Very good. Thank you.
I have a question, Ben.
Yes.
While you're the lead on this, you're putting all this information together, I think it's safe to say, Stevens Point, 75,000 over the course of the 10 days. That's, as we use the word, a very unique thing that the city has not seen before. Are you going to be taking this information that you're receiving and potentially putting together some type of strategic planning so that we have that to be used going forward?
That's something we can certainly discuss. There's different terminology, but I
Okay.
know we'll be coming in with an incident command, which is following
Okay.
like the federal ICS, and so that deals with the EMS side, communication side, a number of different facets. So I can work with the chief, and he can communicate with you or myself directly and try to communicate with who we need to within the city to make things work. I already reached out to city streets and engineering, and I'll be in further communication with them so that they're aware, and just whatever city departments that need to or county will make aware.
And at these meetings, like Scott Badoon, Joel Lemke, and they've already attended as well, because they have to provide a lot of help as well.
Sure.
And as Ben continues to expand this, and we understand through the ICS system, the span of control, he's looking at all of that planning, the logistics, the operations, and the finance aspects of this, large-scale incident. He's putting all of that into consideration as he rolls this out, working with all the other agencies.
Incident command will be run by lieutenants or above, is what I believe should be. Myself, Assistant Chief Dana Williams, and Assistant Chief Mike Rotier will be working a lot of hours for 10 days.
They're going, what?
So don't make plans.
You're saying don't ask for vacation.
Yes, no
on those
vacation
days, right?
over that period of time.
Yes.
President Moore, we should probably entertain putting this as a regular bullet on the,
I was thinking like we don't need every month,
but
but.
once a quarter or something like
Yeah,
that.
if we could get
Yeah.
some kind of updates, that would be a very good thing. Just
Absolutely.
for us and the public, it's good that we keep everybody informed of what's going on. When you say they're closing Division Street, what exactly, where are they closing at? You said North Point and Maria?
No, North Point and Division Street North. So people will still be able to use the roundabout, but the only individuals that'll be able to, or allowed to come into North Point eastbound from Division Street are gonna be the VVIPs, and they'll have special
Badges.
lanyards that'll actually state they're allowed to go in there.
Have we defined what a VVIP is? That was a question we had in the last.
That's what they call them, VVIPs. The new boutique that's up there is gonna be also housing all the VVIPs. I'm not exactly sure. It's obviously much more important than a very important person, but I don't know what VVIP means.
Keep escalating that, okay. It's very, very. All right, yeah.
It's very VIP. Very, very.
That's what they, and Chief can verify, they said the VVIPs, that's
Yes.
what they call them.
That would be a good spot.
Very, very VIP.
Perhaps.
I don't know.
Joe, did you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay. Anybody else? Mary? Yeah.
Make a quick comment. For the record, Mary Nevon, District 7 Alder. Yeah, Monday night, the council approved lifting the requirements for owner-occupied rental from June 22nd through July 5th across the whole city. So empty apartments, people's houses, there will be, keep the money in Stephen's point. You still have to get a license from the county, and that's pretty expensive because I'm already seeing dollar signs in my in my head. And although we haven't seen the transit routes yet, all the fees for those 2 weeks will be suspended for anybody that rides the buses. So hopefully there will be a lot of folks taking advantage of that, but they will be running shuttles from goodness knows where yet. I'm sure you guys are all figuring that out, but at least they won't have to worry about collecting fees from anybody. So that's it.
I know at the
Thank you.
location of my home, my sons have said, Dad, you could make some serious money.
Yes, you could.
There's a few of us thinking that right now.
Rent my house and go to the lake house for 2 weeks and imagine make a couple of grand.
I forgot to tell you, you're in incident command with me.
The VVIP, Mary.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments about this subject? Hearing none, we're going to move on to reschedule the regular PFC meeting for next month from the first Tuesday to the Wednesday, August 10th. I know I've received one phone call from Denise that she may have a problem with this situation. Is there anyone else? 2 o'clock the 10th, Wednesday, work for everybody?
Fine for me.
That's good with me.
Well, I'm like I said, you know, it's.
You'll try and be there?
Yeah, I'll try my best to.
Excellent. Then we're going to schedule it for that day and move forward with that unless some other craziness comes up.
So it's August 10th at 2 p.m.
2 p.m., yes, sir. Thank you for that accommodation. All right, moving on to agenda item number 5 is to adjourn into closed session at approximately 2:30. We're pretty close. Pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved. On the following, update from Attorney Dean Dietrich on the status of the Casey Beelan termination appeal. All in favor, Leanne, please call the
You
roll.
need a second on that?
Do you get a motion?
Yes, please, second. That was a motion.
Oh,
A second.
Taylor,
aye.
Kirschling,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Ostrowski,
Yes.
Morozek.
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.